My name is Matt Pease. I'm a board member on the Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be kind of your host this morning. This is our first coffee with the mayor for this year, and we not only do we get one mayor, but we also get a city council member. So we have our mayor, Carl Anduri, and our vice mayor, John McCormick. So we get a two for one today. Um, we also have Candace Anderson, who is our county supervisor, who has joined us today. Candace, thank you for participating. We appreciate all the support you give us at the county level. Um, just for those of you who are new to this format, this is something that we run 3 or 4 times a year. It's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and it's meant to be a informal way to have a discussion with our city officials about what's going on in the city, whether it's business related or related to our residents. It gives you a chance to ask questions, and we ask that this be done in a respectful and polite tone. And if there's deep follow up that needs to occur, we'll probably do that offline. Um, what we're going to do today is we're going to have Carl kick it off with some assistance from John. And we're going to talk about what are the priorities for the city from the city council perspective. These are the areas that they're going to prioritize their time and your resources to be focused on. After their prepared remarks, we'll do Q&A. And the Q&A is pretty informal. You can either put it into the chat window and I'll read it off. You can kind of raise your hand using the Zoom tool or just wave at me and I'll call on you. And you can ask your question that way. And then at the end, Holly will go over some upcoming events that might be of interest to people in the chamber, in the city that the chamber is sponsoring. So with that, I would like to. One other person we have on here that's going to help us is Suzanne Lara. She is the person that does all the communication for the city, and a lot of times there are websites and references that Carl or John will talk about, and she'll put that in the chat window so you can actually click on those and follow up with them. So Suzanne, thank you for all of that support. So with that, Carl, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. And thank you to the Chamber for this opportunity. Just note that this is really a slightly different format, coffee with the mayor and with the vice mayor. And this reflects something that we're doing a little bit differently this year. About 6 months before the council rotation, I reached out to John to see if he would be willing to work with me on plans, not just for the next year, but for the next 2 years. And I did that not just because I'm incredibly lazy, but because that gives us a better chance of planning and carrying out the initiatives, the mayoral initiatives, more successfully. And fortunately, John said yes, and we spent the time planning for what we would do once we rotated into the offices, and we've been carrying it out. And John's going to talk about those mayoral initiatives, which are separate from the council priorities, but reinforce everything that we're trying to do. So what we usually do, the priorities that the city pursues are priorities that are set by the entire council. It's not as if the mayor comes in and says, okay, this is what we're going to do for the year. We really are a collegial, collaborative council, and we work together to set the priorities. And actually, the way the timing works on the priorities, it reinforces that because the priorities are for a fiscal year, so July 1 to June 30, and the new mayor comes in halfway through that. So basically, the mayor comes in and the mayor just continues to work on the existing priorities. So what we did, we got together about 2 weeks ago now on February 20th to start the discussion of the priorities for the fiscal year that begins July 1st. And we had a very good discussion. We came up with the three priorities They will be on the agenda at the March 23rd council meeting, and that's when we will finalize them. So if you've got any input on these priorities, what we should, if there should be something different, if we should tweak it a bit, just let us know because it will be on the agenda on the 23rd. So starting with well, let me just spoiler alert, there's not a big difference. The priorities for next year, priorities for this year. So this year's priorities, number one was wildfire, different aspects of wildfire, prevention, mitigation, anything related to wildfire. So what we've done for the year starting July 1st is that there are a couple of subcategories, subtasks under that. And one of them is to work with the community, both on public education about what everyone can do at their own homes to harden their own home, promoting firewise districts, everything we can do to help residents make them safer with respect to wildfire. Then we're also going to take steps to work on evacuation route hardening. And there's a number of things that are included in that. Some of them will be pilot programs like staging equipment near traffic control boxes in interviews, like cones and other things, so that if there's an emergency, the equipment is out there already. We're also looking at perhaps having no parking areas on narrow roads during red fire days. I know Orinda does that. Lafayette hasn't done that yet. But we're looking at a number of things, including enhanced vegetation trimming along evacuation routes during the next year. Then we also want to work with CONFIRE and other partner agencies to reduce the risks of wildfire, which would include fuel reduction, shaded fuel breaks. I won't go into fuel breaks, it's a long story there, but and then other methods for rapid response and early detection of ignition. We also are keeping an eye on CCTA's evacuation study to see if that provides enough detail for Lafayette to plan or do more detailed planning on evacuation or whether we're going to have our own study. And then when that is done, we want to look at whether we should, do more to look at the ability to evacuate and then consider whether that should have an impact on our land use decisions, and if so, how it should impact those decisions. And then finally, we want to collaborate with Moraga and Orinda and get an early start on working on the next regional housing need allocation. The cycle that starts in 2031. We're really not that far away from it, and we want to do what we can to make sure that the fact that we're in a high fire severity area is taken into consideration. We tried during the last cycle and we were not successful. Lafayette has a higher per capita RHNA number than any city in Contra Costa County. And that's, given our fire situation, that simply shouldn't be. And so we need to work on that now to make sure that's taken into consideration. Okay, so that's first priority. The second, existing and will continue, is working on planning for the Mount Diablo Boulevard corridor. And the corridor is from Acalanes Road in the west to Pleasant Hill Road in the east, Deer Hill Road in the north to the south part of the downtown in the downtown specific area. So the reason we're focusing on that is because of our 2,114 RHNA units that we have to plan for. Most of them are in that corridor. And if they actually get built, which they won't in this cycle, but eventually if they get built, and everybody comes into those units with two cars, it's simply not going to work. So the very bottom line for me for this study, and I'd like to welcome our Lafayette Citizen of the Year to our screen here, Carol Singer, welcome. Um, if all those people have those cars, well, we need to plan so that when people move into one of these units, they can carry out all their errands. They can get to work. They can get to recreational opportunities. They can get to school, uh, and only have one car per household. So what we'll be doing, the big study, big project here, and we just have put out an RFP, is to look at the corridor and if possible, reimagine it. What do we need to do with our circulation patterns? How can we make it so that people can do most of their errands either on foot or by bicycle and not have to have more than one car? So that's the big thing that's going on there. Some specific things. We are working on objective design standards for multifamily dwellings in the downtown area. Um, we Another part of this project is facilitating the development of a affordable housing project at 949 Moraga Road. Most of you are aware of that. The Sunflower Hill project. We want to enter into a development agreement for the De Silva property, which is the property that's to the south of Oakwood, 60-acre property. 10 acres of that have been zoned at 35 dwelling units per acre. So that will be a big development. We need a development agreement for that. And then um, um, in addition to the big plan, while we're looking at the big plan, we want to be mindful of making sure we've got enough parks in the downtown area. Because right now it's definitely don't have enough recreational opportunities in the downtown. And we also want to be aware of the development, not development, but enhancement of the awareness of the creeks in the downtown, because that's a major asset, and then pathways around the downtown. So that's the second major priority. The third major priority for this year was fiscal sustainability. And that's been a priority for the last couple of years, since we realized a few years ago that we were running a $2 million structural deficit. So just a little bit of history. In 2024, when we realized we were running that deficit, the council voted to put on the ballot Measure H, which is a half-cent sales tax. We expected that was going to raise enough money to close that deficit. So the campaign was, vote for Measure H. If you do, then we will be able to keep all the services that we've been provided. We won't have to cut services. And that got 65% vote. So for this fiscal year, after getting Measure H passage, we decided we were going to do a couple things. One, we pledged not to add any new programs that would cost us money. We would see how much money actually came in for Measure H. And most important, we commissioned a study of all of the city's assets. So all the buildings that the city owns, the major one being the library, but all the way from the library to the snack shack at Buckeye Fields, all the parking lots, anything the city owns. We looked at them and said, okay, how much is it going to cost over the next 20 years to repair, maintain, or replace these assets? Because we have been putting money into sinking funds to keep up with all of this, but we didn't know if we were putting in enough money. So the bad news was that we weren't putting in enough. We got the results from this late last year in December. And we update our annual budget. We do a mid-course correction in January. So all this is reflected in the January budget. But we learned that in order to keep up our assets over the next 20 years, we would need to increase the amounts that we're putting into these sinking funds by about $500,000 per year and escalating that at 3.5% each year. So that took up, well, we were hoping to have a little bit of extra money from Measure H. That basically took all the extra money from Measure H. So when we revised the budget in January for the current fiscal year, we increased the amounts we're putting into the sinking funds. So we can continue to provide all the services we're providing. We can keep up all of our assets with one major exception I'll come to. For the next 5 years and the projection, to the extent that you put any credence in 5-year projections, that will end at the end of the 5 years with a surplus, 60% surplus, which is our target surplus amount. The big problem that this study uncovered is that our community center at Burton Valley has reached the end of its useful life. And when I refer to community center, I'm not talking about the Jennifer Russell building, which was rebuilt 10 years ago. That's fine. That just takes a minimal amount, no, minimal, it takes a reasonable amount each year to keep that in good shape. But the buildings, the schoolhouse buildings that were put into use in 1954 as Burton School, the studies showed that we would need to put in about $16 million over the next 20 years to continue to use those, and we'd end up in 20 years with basically outdated buildings that, yeah, it just, our Public Works Engineering Department agrees that it really needs to be replaced. And the problem with that is that it would be millions and millions of dollars to replace it. So our priority for this third priority, the financial sustainability priority, is now morphing into planning for development and financing of the city's recreational needs. Because in addition to the community center, during the last year, it just really came to the fore that we need more playing fields. The whole issue with what we do with Buckeye Fields put a spotlight on that. So we need more playing fields, and then there are other recreational needs that strong desires that have been expressed in the past for things like a dog park, for example, and more pickleball courts. So for the next year, we're going to look at what we need, what really truly our needs, look at how much it would cost to provide those recreational facilities, and then decide how we're going to go about financing them. And really, what can we finance? What can't we finance? So this next year is a year of planning on that. And in the meantime, for the community center, we'll continue to put in $125,000 to just keep it going until we decide what we're going to do. And part of this planning process, frankly, is going to be, do we rebuild the community center in Burton Valley, or do we build a community center downtown, which is where, well, it'll be more central. It'll be where the additional people are going to be. But even if we did that, we would definitely, the Jennifer Russell building still be in Burton Valley, and we would want to keep something there, some facility there, because there's such a strong after-school care program in Burton Valley. It's just oversubscribed, so we need to continue to meet that need, and we couldn't meet that if we moved everything to the downtown. So those are the large priorities. That's where we are. We'll be looking at them again at the meeting on the 23rd. So again, if you've got any comments, let us know now, or let us know at the meeting. And with that, I'll turn it over to Vice Mayor McCormick, who's going to talk about our mayoral initiatives. And you're muted.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, so as Carl mentioned, we've got these big ticket, I think, items that we are working on, but there is some room for a little extra secret sauce. I kind of think of it as we got a bucket full of like softballs, so it feels like the bucket's full, but you can pour in some sand. You can get some things between the major initiatives, and that's what we're doing to continue to ensure that Lafayette is just continues to be the wonderful place that we all love. And so, as the mayor mentioned, last year we got together and brainstormed on kind of 2-year mayoral initiatives, right? Which these are kind of initiatives that don't require a whole lot of staff time, a whole lot of extra budget, but will continue to enrich Lafayette. And those are briefly, the first one is in our mission statement and how we pride ourselves, we want Lafayette to be a very welcoming city. We're going to have we have people coming to Lafayette all the time. As Carl mentioned, we've got new housing being built, which will be even more new residents coming to Lafayette. And how do they get plugged in? How do they understand what Lafayette's about in our community? So we started an official kind of program called Hello Lafayette that we rolled out the first instance of it February 3rd, and we partnered with the Lafayette Juniors. And this was where we got all the leading organizations in town together, including the chamber, some different city departments, as well as some private groups. And we invited all the new residents, everybody that had moved to Lafayette in the last 12 months, via postcard as well as outreach from the city to come to the Don Tatson Community Hall and just tour around, see what Lafayette has to offer, and make connections, find places to join, or groups to join, and things like that. It was very, very successful. We're planning on probably 2 a year, with the juniors taking the lead to make that happen. So that was very exciting, very successful, and we're going to continue to do that and continue to make Lafayette a very welcoming place. The second is to really enforce or reinforce an existing program called Slow Down Lafayette. Again, with the goal of making Lafayette, residents safer. We are incorporating and probably including somewhere around e-bikes, as we know that's a large concern among many of our constituents. So how we ensure that e-bikes are included in being safe and responsible transportation, as well as, again, but encouraging people to leave their cars at home and seek alternate means. So we are including and reinforcing that program. The third item is to, again, even have a tighter relationship with the Lafayette Chamber. The Lafayette Chamber obviously does some great things for the city, not only with all the community events, but of course, ensuring that our downtown is vibrant. And again, so important as we look at the Mount Diablo corridor plan and more people moving downtown and we need to come downtown. How do we make sure that our business community stays vibrant and interesting and relevant and attractive to people? The fourth one is about environmental sustainability. And in this one, we've also made some great progress. We have worked with one of our key partners, Recycle Smart, and Carl and we met with Recycle Smart several times to talk about, what is something we can do kind of special and unique to Lafayette. What's basically the thing we can do to make the biggest impact with the least amount of kind of cost and effort. And we brainstormed and we settled on I think a pretty easy ask, but something we're not doing enough of, which is effectively getting our food waste out of the black can, your garbage can, and into the green can. The Lafayette citizens and community do a great job with yard trim. We do that really well, but the food waste is still going in the garbage. And just getting the food waste out of the garbage and into the green can, I mean, it's got two things. Number one, that food waste will actually be then composted and used for fertilizer and other things, and it reduces the amount of landfill that goes to the landfill, which improves our greenhouse gas emissions and so on. And if we can actually get we can get 75% of our food scraps into the green can, it's going to be the equivalent of taking 200 cars off the road every year. So it's an easy thing to do. It's just, so we are working with Recycle Smart. We're going to do a program where we're going to be testing what we do now, do a community outreach, and then test afterwards to figure out what messages work. And of course, if it does work, we can then expand it to other communities within our Recycle Smart jurisdiction, La Marinda and beyond, and so on. So this could be a great program. Next, we are looking to continue Lafayette's push to make ourselves more age-friendly. We always think, I think, when new people come to town, they are these young families, but with the different kinds of housing we're having, we're going to have more people at the start of their kind of working lives. But we also have a lot of seniors and how we continue to make Lafayette more age friendly, more senior friendly. And this what we're seeing is such benefit we get working with Lombardo Village and what they're bringing to the table as far as making sure that our seniors, whether they're close to downtown or in the far-flung regions of Lafayette, are feel like they're part of our community. So we are really doubling down on that. We have a core value in addition to being, of course, very welcoming and environmentally aware. We also want to value arts and lifelong learning. And we are doing that in some small ways here at the beginning of council meetings. We are having different presentations right now, mostly, I think, focused on arts. So we just had a presentation just on Monday from Town Hall Theater. We're here from the Park Theater Trust a couple meetings before that. So really understanding how art enriches all of our lives. Next year, we might see a more emphasis on music, and you might be be having some performances from some of our local music groups, youth groups in town. But again, this is kind of to highlight the different groups and what they bring to the table and give people an idea for how they can contribute. And then finally, we do have on the 4th of July, we have our nation's 250th anniversary. And we thought it would be fun to actually work with the Historical Society and think about how we celebrate the role of France, especially Lafayette, in gaining our independence, and if we can work that as being kind of uniquely kind of our Lafayette way of contributing to that celebration. So anyway, those are the kind of those key mayoral initiatives that we're working on, and they're exciting. I think they bring a little bit of a little bit of what makes Lafayette so special. So, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you. Or maybe I guess we may turn over to Matt and see if there's any questions.
Well, look, before we get into Q&A, I just want to, point people at the chat window there. Suzanne has been posting a number of links there. You can get more information about some of the efforts that are going on in the city. So certainly make sure that you take a look at that. Once again, on this Q&A, we're pretty informal about it. You can either post something in the chat window or just raise your hand, wave at me or something like that, and I will call on you. Carl, we did have one question come up in the chat window earlier from Libby, and it has to do with working with other agencies, people that are, as she phrased, higher up. Maybe you could talk broadly about how do we work with other agencies, cities, to help not only just prevent, but also make sure that other things don't happen relative to fire damage and things such as that, because it seems that we need to work with multiple agencies.
You're
Carl,
muted.
you're on mute.
Sorry, and that's in the context of our wildfire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there are a couple of them, and I'm going to say a few words, then turn it over to John, because one of the other things that we're doing this year is basically focusing responsibility for particular areas on particular council members. So just so everyone will be aware, John and Jim Cervantes are the liaisons to our Emergency Preparedness Commission, to our Crime Prevention Commission. So broadly, they are focusing on public safety. And again, I think it's more effective if we've got people who are responsible for a particular area. So, but having said that, two major things I'll lead off with. One is the relationship with Confire. We have a very good relationship with Confire, and one of the new things that Confire is doing, which I think we're 99% sure Lafayette's going to be part of, is the new ambassador program. We had been hoping for something like this to happen. Basically, what this is that it ties in to the whole Firewise effort, but individuals in the community will be trained to go on properties, when they're invited to go on properties, and provide an assessment, a hardening fire safety assessment. The 5-foot zone, the other zones, and just it's nothing will be written down. There's no requirement that anything will be done. It's just an educational, a very good educational experience for people to realize what they can do to make their property safer. And as I understand it, there's two areas in the county that are going to be uh, well, they're going to start on that. There's going to be a 1,000 home area in Lafayette, and then there's another in East County that's going to be doing it. So that's exciting that that program is going to start here, and then we'd like to expand it to get even more ambassadors within Lafayette. Just part of the effort to get people more aware of what they can do to be more fire safe. And then the other effort that we're participating in, Senator Grayson has put together a group that meets, and John, I think it's once every 3 months.
Yeah, once a quarter. Yeah.
Okay, to talk about needs. And again, this is one that mayors have been going to, but since sort of assigned responsibility, now John and Jim Cervantes rotate going to that rather than the mayor. So, John, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. Let me do that, and Libby, I see your follow-up question, so we can kind of put that in that context. Yeah, so I will say Tim Grayson, our state senator, is taking really a good lead on this. To mention, our biggest partner in wildfire safety is Contra Costa Fire. But as we all know, we can't really do it alone, right? Because a fire starts over in Briones, it starts in other areas and comes into us. And so he is he's really trying to pull all these different organizations together, all the different cities, the county, East Bay Regional Parks, the different fire districts around together to try to have a bigger voice, to articulate for kind of a common, plan for how we deal with wildfire and evacuation, and also for requesting funding from the state government for programs that can actually help us work with more fire protection. So we are going through all that. They are looking, I mean, to Libby's point a little bit about kind of state standards. They're also looking at that. At the moment, I think Senator Grayson is probably the tip of the spear. And so I think probably for feedback on fire standards and all that would probably go through Senator Grayson's office. But we're making some good progress. There's really a good chance, well, I think a reasonable chance that Lafayette will get additional funding that will help us with better vegetation clearing along evacuation routes, staging. I think Mayor mentioned staging emergency supplies at different corners around town to make them in neighborhoods to make it safer if we need to evacuate, and so on. And I would be remiss to say that the community, the volunteer commissions that Lafayette has are unparalleled. The one that's really taking the lead on this is also the Emergency Preparedness Commission, and Duncan Siebert, Stephanie Bontemps, or so on are really stepping up to ensure that the Firewise neighborhoods, we continue to expand those. We just got Burton Valley, 3,000 homes is now a Firewise neighborhood, and also making sure that how we get the information out to people that if there's evacuation, what do we do and how do we do it? So we're making good progress. There's plenty left to do, but it's encouraging to see some cooperation from Sacramento in this effort, because it's a region-wide effort we need to do. We can't do it all by ourselves.
Libby, I see you had your hand up. Do you have another question?
Sorry about that. Yeah, you kind of misinterpreted my what I really wanted to. All of these things, the wildfire, the housing, all of these things are mandates being put down on cities from Sacramento. The wildfire thing, I mean, I am all for wildfire prevention, by the way. I don't know if you mentioned it. Happy Valley, I'm zone 19 in Happy Valley, and we're doing our part in brush clearing and all of that. We're doing a great job too. Pat ourselves on the back for that. But I've lived here since 1958, and this wildfire thing started. Let's see, 2017 was the Paradise Fire, and
Libby, do you have a question?
A lot of
Libby?
these fires have been started by arsonists. The Oakland Hills fire was, if you all remember that one. I mean, but everything is being classified as wildfires. The fires in LA, for example, last year were not wildfires. They were set by people in high fire, Pacific Palisades is a high fire severity zone. But there's been no, onus in Sacramento about that. And I mean, Cal Fire, I guess, is the one that is burdened with the districting or whatever of severity zones and all of that. But
Libby, what is your question?
seems like there should be it should be an appeal to reassess that. I mean, you look at the history of an area, for example, we haven't had a wildfire here. I remember the last one we had, it was over 50 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just wondering, at what point do the higher ups, start seeing things for what they are?
Okay. Carl or John, do you want to comment on that real quickly?
No, I think we're good. I think, like I said, I think if you want to reach out to Tim Grayson, he'd be the right person at Sacramento to probably handle that part of it. But thank you, Libby.
Karen, you've got your hand up. There you go, Karen.
Oh, hi there. Are you calling me Matt?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Hi. That's okay. My name is Karen Snow Hawkins, and we live on Solana Court. We're actually pretty new to Lafayette, 5 years. And my question is about fire prevention. So we've done the home hardening. We're embarking on an effort to become a fire-wise district. We're about to pull the trigger in the next few weeks to go through the process. But, our efforts are going to be in vain if we don't have defensible space around our homes. The area in particular that is an issue for us is looking out on our between Silver Springs and Sweet, that open area that's so lovely, the scenic and trail easement, actually, which is why we moved here. We cannot get the Contra Costa Fire Department to enforce their rules about limbing up trees. We've tried numerous times. We've copied Supervisor Anderson on our requests, and we've actually been told, no, we're worried about weeds right now. We're not going to enforce that. So we have ladder fuels. It's a kind of a mess out there. So how can the city help us get this limbed up in the back? Because all of our homes are at risk. It's a big entry point to the city of Lafayette.
Carl, do you want to take? Or actually, we have Supervisor Anderson on the phone. I will say, I think to talk about it conceptually, I think actually having the if we can actually get this kind of program that they're looking to do to empower more people, if Confire can empower more people to actually work with the local citizenry and then feed information back up to Confire, that will be better. But it doesn't really address your current question about the Confire priorities. I don't know, Supervisor Anderson, do you have any opinion on that?
Sure. And this is something where I'm not familiar with Karen, your specific situation. And Jill Ray, if Jill is on, she may have interacted with you. We do have the whole fire abatement process that we go through. And I don't know who controls that open space that you're talking about with the limbing up concern, whether or not that is city property, East Bay Regional Park property, HOA open space. I'd be very happy to have us take a deeper dive on that. But we do take very seriously the abatement issue, weed abatement, the fuel. That is a big issue. Those notices are going out. Usually it's by early June that we send them out. And we do also, as all of you are aware, we do have hand crews that regularly identify certain areas that need to have fuel mitigation abatement. The other thing while I'm on, I did want to address Libby's concern about arson. We have a very, very robust arson investigation team with Confire. Some of you may recall a few years ago, there was someone going around lighting up cars in the La Marinda area. We take that very seriously. We have most of our investigators are former police officers, law enforcement. We don't, anytime there's a suspicious fire, those are investigated. But with regard to your specific, Karen, I'm happy to look into it further. And I'm going to have Jill, who's magically appearing on the screen, address it, because she is not only my liaison to a lot of to you in Lafayette, she also is my liaison on fire issues. So Jill, if you want to jump in, that would be awesome.
Sure. I'd be happy to have you forward your information to me, because this is the first I'm hearing about it. So I'm not sure who in our office received your information, Karen. But
That'd
if
be great, Jill. You know,
yeah,
I had Chief Ottolini in my backyard and showing him the PowerPoint slide. It's all private property, showing him the slide of all the house numbers. And I was just
yeah,
told it's too much of an administrative burden to send letters out to all those homeowners.
yeah, and I'll
Happy
check
to
with
do, you know.
yeah, I'll check with our office staff to find out where those emails went, because I haven't seen any of those. And I'm the Lafayette liaison, and I also cover Confire. So if you could forward those, I could give you my email address.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fabulous.
It's jill.ray
Yeah.
at BOS, Board of Supervisors, .cccounty.us. And if you could do that, and then I'll follow up with you.
Fabulous. Yeah, I mean, we just want us, we're going to do all this effort, and you know, if this isn't, you know, if we need help, right? So so the homeowners can only do, us here, we can only do so much. So we need all the homeowners around us to play a role. Thank you.
Great. Karen, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Okay.
David, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. This is not a comment about fire prevention. So if we're not through with that, then I'm premature. But well, let's go with it. I had submitted a written question, a short one, sort of a softball question about creeks and the downtown aspect of the council's focus for the upcoming year. And I think, Carl, you addressed that in your comments. I did want to point out, in addition, that I'm on the Creeks Committee, as you know, and there are a lot of things that we have looked at in the past which have not come to fruition. For example, Madison Park. There were some easements at the Madison Park property that we had promises for, but those things have sort of slipped. They're not there anymore. So in addition to the gazebo and the area that you're looking at Mount Diablo, there may be opportunities which we're trying to monitor on the Creeks Committee for unfortunately having to go back and redo some of the things that we had previously done that are either close to or are impacted by that section of the downtown corridor that we're going to be looking at. So I just toss that out to make sure we don't forget it. Thank you.
Well, just to follow up on that, Madison Park, for everyone's benefit, is the property that's to the south of the library building, which did have a apartment that turned into a business center and now is just a level field. But David, so far as I'm aware, the easement along the creek and the floating easement from Golden Gate Way, that's still there if somebody develops. The entitlements are still on that property, and they still include the easement. So to my knowledge, nothing has disappeared there. It's just nothing has been developed. And then also, so everyone's aware, we received an earmark on the topic of creeks. We received an earmark a couple years ago through Congressman DeSaulnier for developing the West Reach portion of the creek, which is from Valley Center, Risa Road, coming then east to the, well, I'm not sure which building is there. I think it's a real estate building.
It's Sotheby's, I think.
Sotheby's, okay. But the city owns both sides of the creek there. And so at some point, we will be restoring that part of the creek to its natural state and putting a little pathway along the existing sideway sidewalk and adding some overlook points. So that should be a very nice entry point into the downtown when that is done. And that will probably be, well, I hope in the next year or so.
Thank you.
Okay. Carl, it's kind of a multi-part question that came in on the chat. Since we found the amount of money that is needed to renovate the community center, whether you move it or renovate it, do you anticipate needing additional revenue, sales tax revenue? And is the process you're going to go through, are you going to look at renovating it versus tearing it down, or moving it downtown versus keeping it on the St. Mary's Road? Maybe you can explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, the short answer is yes, we will be going through that process. And I would anticipate that we'll spend a little bit of time, although Public Works and Engineering has already told us they don't think the building can be, that it's worth renovating. But I just want to take one last look at that before putting that aside, because the cost of building a new community center now would be very, very high. And I'm not sure where the money would come from. We would either have to raise new revenue or we would have to cut existing services and divert that money to a new community center. So there would be some hard choices. There's going to be some hard choices no matter what.
Okay.
But let me just one other just little fact. I mentioned that the most valuable building that the city owns is the library building, and since it was completed in 2009, we've been putting $200,000 per year into a sinking fund to provide for repair of capital portions of the building. So, for example, if the roof needed repair, we've got the money. We would have the money for that. The study came back and said instead of 200,000 per year, we need to be putting in 440,000 per year. So we have increased that now to 440,000 per year, and that needs to also increase by 3.5% a year. So the amount we're putting in for the library has increased dramatically. It brings home the lesson of anytime you build something, it's not just building it, cutting the ribbon, putting it into service. You've got years and years then of paying for upkeep and maintenance costs. So I think we just need to be even more mindful whenever we apply for an earmark, whenever we decide to build something that it's a long-term ongoing cost.
Right. Maybe I can just jump in briefly. I think just to say also, as we go through the process, I mean, we are going to have community engagement. So, I mean, Libby, your points I think are something valid. Like, oh, didn't what are we doing about improving the one we have now? What about Jennifer Russell building? So we are going to have to engage the community, and it's really just, I mean, the community center is getting the most of the conversational kind of energy, but we also are looking at the overall. I think, as the mayor mentioned, our lack of ball fields and what that means for the community and community, recreation. There's dog parks, there's pickleball, there's all sorts of things together that I think, they all kind of interrelate because if you didn't have as much at the community center at that site, you could have more pickleball courts. And so there's a bit of a balance, but there's no free lunch in this world and certainly not in government. So we're going to have to figure out. So it's really what the community wants, right? And that's what we're going to try to do. So we'll have to engage in quite a bit of community conversation. So this is where this year, I think if we look at the priorities, this is really about the feasibility and figuring out the options that we can then present to people to kind of get feedback. So nothing is happening, there's nothing's being torn down or built this year. It's really just about kind of starting to figure out what the options are, including, as Mayor mentioned, hey, maybe we want to look at, can we keep it what we got going? Is that really the best use of the money? We'll have to figure that out.
Okay, as we approach the top of the hour, I didn't see any other questions online. Holly, do you want to kind of give us an update on some of the things that are going on with the chamber, some of the upcoming events, please?
Absolutely. I just want to extend my gratitude and thanks to Mayor Anderson and Vice Mayor McCormick for today's great discussion. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson and Jill Ray, for joining us and chiming in. A huge thanks to Matt Pease. Karen, I see your hand up, so we'll get to you in a minute. As Carl mentioned, we have Carol Singer, who is our 2026 Citizen of the Year, online with us today. We will be honoring her at the Lafayette Park Hotel next Thursday evening. I know many of you are registered. If anyone does need to sneak a ticket in before we do our final confirmation with the hotel, please reach out to the chamber. But we're very much looking forward to honoring Carol. Earlier this year, we honored our Business Persons of the Year, which were Aaron and Ford Andrews of Sideboard. Very excited for that. And just this week, we welcomed All Ages Recreation Downtown. They did a ribbon cutting for their new den. So a lot of exciting things happening here in Lafayette, and there's many more to come. So next week, the Chamber has a Connectors networking group. We also have a business seminar, both of those prior to the Citizen of the Year dinner. So busy week next week, but all is great. Excited to announce, and it could be tentative, but we're excited to announce a ribbon cutting at Western Flyer Brewery on April 9th at noon. Look for their opening and pre-opening events that they're having at Western Flyer. So we're excited to welcome that. And I saw a cheer from Suzanne. I know they've been watching the city's been watching that development for years. So we're all very excited about that. Other events that the Chamber is going to be putting on is an Artisan Walk, Taste of Lafayette, or Artisan Walk would be the Saturday before Mother's Day on May 9th. Taste of Lafayette is Tuesday, May 19th, and tickets will go on sale maybe today, or at least by Monday. Our Rock the Plaza concert series is going to bring some great music to the plaza on June 5th, 12th, and the 26th. And the Lafayette Art and Wine Festival is September 19th and 20th this year. Applications are open for, nonprofits, commercial vendors, artists on the website at LafayetteFestival.com. I just want to note a couple other great community events that are coming up. The store Vintage Vita is going to be hosting a vintage fair, a vintage market, starting Sunday, March 12th. So we're excited to welcome this brand new event to bring people downtown with a vintage spin. Sunday, April 12th. Lafayette Juniors will have their lifestyle store tour on April 25th. And Earth Day here in Lafayette is scheduled for the Lafayette Plaza on Sunday, April 26th. So a lot going on. I'm going to put a little calendar link in there, but please reach out to any of us at the Chamber if you have any questions in regards to the Chamber or wonderful community events. Thanks again, Matt.
Great. Thanks, Holly. Well, look, as we wrap things up, I also want to thank Carl and John for putting this together and making yourself available. I know you guys are always available, through email or phone calls. So we appreciate everything you guys do, as well as you also, Candace, and your staff, who are really good at jumping on things. So with that, we will bring this to a close. Thank you very much for attending, and I wish everybody a great weekend. Thank you.